So welcome back to Acholi Pro Evo TV, and with me here, Mark Brian, alongside Wayne Tony. As you already know, what I would call is this video is part 2 of the Nobad Mao versus Anita Mount saga that was technically interrupted, but we can continue from where we had stopped. There is the next question that I wanted to give you before the interruption. Nobad Mao has some roots in Western Uganda. I think the mother's side, the mother is from the Acoli tribe. Do you think that would also help? You know, in Africa, we cannot leave bloodlines out. Do you think that would also contribute to some support from Western Uganda?
Yeah, definitely. I believe that, yes, because of the bloodline and maybe having a lot of connections from the mother side. You know, politics is not just about the people. It's not just about, it's just a collective effort that people put in one person to see that the person succeed, but also Nobad Mao being being halfway this side, halfway the other side, will gain a lot of political support from the other side, definitely. And I believe that the interest these people will put in Nobad Mao will cost him a lot of backup from the other side. That's what I was telling you in the other session, that he will definitely connect the two regions and add up some other few backup from other regions. And definitely, you know, his politics, he have always been on the ground and is a season long politician, and yeah, definitely I see a lot of backup and support from the other side. Though people will say, he's from the other side, but we have seen him in politics. He's a season long person. Constitutionally, he have also been in the system and amending it. You have that background, so you'll have a lot of support, definitely.
Well, now let's look at actually voting big for Museveni and also NRM as a party. We have seen actually gave, I can say, according to the declared results, almost all the votes. This is the fact. And Nobad Mao has been campaigning for Museveni with other independents and opposition leaders. We have seen even the guy, the big man himself, Father, Honorable MP of La Ropeje, that is Father Nen. He also campaigned for Museveni. In other words, they were competing with Mao in Gulu City in campaigning for Museveni. Another example, which is the best example, is also Dr. Dongoto. He campaigned for Museveni heavily in the district, and nobody campaigned for Museveni more than Dongoto. He gave the justification that it is because Museveni accepted to do justice by making Balali to do what is right, to reverse the migration. He said it's part of his diplomatic process to say, if he can push back his own tribesmen, then he's the right guy. So Donga, nobody campaigned for Museveni more than Dongata in Pade district. The win of Museveni, can it make Museveni, the Central Authority, to maybe say, since the Acholi people are on top of the side supporting me, let's make them have an influential position in the government?
I still believe, yes, it's a belief. You know, we have gone through a lot, and I still see that in the country today, or in the past election, we had, yes, so many other people who came to stood in the position of the presidency, and we have seen a lot of party president dropping back to MP positions and leaving that seat for some other few individuals that were, if you are to consider them in the country, some of them could not outmatch the level at which President Museveni is right now. Making, I had you spoke about some of the challenges we had in the region. Definitely that is a Balalo issue, and also the land injustice. However much we have a constitutional minister who would go back and steer the wheel and say, we really want something better to come. And because of his position, I believe he had been whispering about this in the ear of the chairman. I believe what we talked about, like the cooperation, have also made him have that opportunity. Now, coming back, actually voting hugely for President Museveni, I think we didn't have a better option, because now looking at all the opposition are running after President Museveni. Look at our great opposition's MP that we believed in them, and some of them also ran into the party to work together. I think this alone have cost a lot of things in the region. That's why in my communication I was saying that if we could have this position taken up by our own, I believe that because he's also a season-long politician, and also he's a lawyer, a constitutional minister, he have that background of the law, and he have also been in the system. He would have that steering committee, and he would steer up the debate, and also which align with the region, and things which we could not raise them directly to the house. He would also help to control. So voting usually, I don't think it's one of the things. But if I still come back to what you said last time, but
Mo is putting it openly as one of his bargain.
No,
because he said it openly on TV that he led to the second victory, which was bigger than the previous one for Museveni in Acholi sub-region.
The truth about this campaign and election is that, looking at every region, once they're sitting, I've been reading some of their books, this Protecting the Gain and Out book, you realize that there are things which come naturally in the country, like you talk about the bridges, talk about the schools, the road, and other things. But also there are things which the ruling government see. How much have this region voted for the party? How did they do in the past election? And they give you something which comes naturally, and there are others which are politically given. So looking at how actually have voted, it will also sound a bell on the ear of the ruling government that something better should be done the other side. And now the better thing is, last time we discussed, we were saying, look at the CEC. Who can still stand for us in the CEC that can debate what we think the region really need, and who can stand for us if we don't have so and so, or this person, another person? Because now we are having a lot of projects because we had our own one, and a few things have started happening. Now if we don't have,
well, there is what is called the Olanyas, I don't know how I should call it, the Olanyas dream, the zeal, the desire, the style. You remember Jacob Olanya was very open. The late May, so rest in peace, was very open about the issue of our land. Our land belongs to Acholi. He openly quoted that he regrets ever gazetting a land to become East Madi Reserve. He said it's a foresight that they did not see it coming, that it would cause much conflict as a result of the gazette. He could go for the mediation, eat food in the forest together with Acholi and Madi. That's applying diplomacy. We have issues. Karamajong still kills, rapes, loots properties of the Acholi. We have issues. Elephant in a Gago district, in a More, Anwaya. In fact, animal to wildlife regions is still very poor, killing people, destroying crops. We also have issues. We need to talk about this. We have issues like Balolo, land conflict. There are issues, nodding syndrome disease. There are a lot of other issues available. Do you think what Jacob Olanya was trying to solve, do you think Mao will solve? And also, could it be a threat or a fear that the government would have that Norbert Mao could try to solve this? Because openly there are people, there are mafias everywhere. In any part of the government in the world, there are mafias who want their own agenda to go in ways that even the central authority may not realize. So, two questions. Can Norbert Mao, if given the opportunity, try to solve this, and could it be part of the fears or the threats that the government feels? By this I mean the central authority feels Mao poses in that powerful position.
One thing that actually do not play with is the land issue that I have seen so many.
Definitely 100%.
Yeah. And when you try to challenge them and you try to do something which is not to the side, or I say you switch a knob or you touch a switch which is not really the switch you are supposed to touch, then touch the issue of the land. Olanya Jacob was very open, and there's a lot that he has done to the country that are remarkable. Currently, when you look at the MPs we have in the region, some of them still fear to identify the challenges actually had and still talk about it openly, which to me, it is hard to carry vision for someone like I always say about this. It is hard to carry vision and to work exactly like the other person, but also remember the person that we are talking about, that is Norbert Mao, have been in the system. Last time we talked about some advantages he has. We talked about him.
Let's be specific about. Let's be very specific. Let's not deviate.
Yeah.
Question is clear. Can Norbert Mao fulfill those things, the problems, the burden of the Acholi, and could it be a threat that the government would fear letting him into that position?
I think letting Norbert Mao to that position can't be aligned to this. I know it cannot be one of the reasons he might not be let in.
But what also, about the question of, for example, the Balalo lobbyists? What would they be thinking about Mao's thing? That is just an example.
The truth about that is, I like for Mao, Norbert Mao, I still believe that what Jacob Olanya have carried will be almost a similar thing, because I've seen him almost talking about this and openly sharing about this. When you remember what they came up with, they came up in the region to help support this after hearing and also a remarkable words from the President, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni, about the Balalo issues that had risen in the recent I think here, but also the executive order. You heard him how he spoke in the country. I still believe that that issue alone can make him fail to make it as the speaker. But also then he has so many other opportunities that can let him in. But also the truth is there's light at the tunnel. There's light at the tunnel. We'll see what will happen because we'll give it back to them.
Well, you say the truth is there's light at the end of the tunnel now. It also takes me to the most brief question. Between Mao and Anita Mao, we know all politicians are liars, but the degrees varies. Between Mao and Anita Mao, who is more of a truth speaker? They say it's better for me to slap you with the truth than to kiss you with a lie. So between Mao and Mao, who is able to slap somebody with the truth, and who has more tendency of kissing people with lies?
Politically, there are so many things that happen in politics, and I tell you, in the system that we have right now, there are so many things which have been brought up, and there are different. Okay, Mao. Let's talk about Anita Mao, who is in the system already, coming up from the background of opposition, but now you have put okay, he's now the current speaker and had been there. But also looking at Mao, who is coming up from the background of opposition, but also one leg already in.
Remember, Anita Mao also came from opposition.
Yes, I am
FDC,
saying from FDC.
The deputy Taibwa came from opposition, that is FDC, and also Jacob Olanya came from opposition, that is UPC.
The truth about the partition of these people is that the
question is, who is more truthful?
when you ask a question like who is more truthful, you know, politics.
Just for time factor.
Then I could say
that's why
Mao is very truthful on whatever he's doing. Because now let me tell you, the chairman of the NRM party is a very wise person, and also this president have always gotten every opportunity to know who he's working with, and I know because of this he had done a lot of investigation here and there, and he have worked with him for a long time. Remember, this is not the first time he's interfacing with Norbert Mao, but he have had him in his government. And you remember during the time that Norbert Mao was moving around the country and doing his work as the minister, there's a lot that he might have seen in him. I believe that his coming up for this position will mean a lot still. He's very open.
Mao has talked about truth-telling, justice and reconciliation, dialogue and the rest. And while building those things, Mao spoke about things that are very painful to Acholi, painful to Baganda, and also the Acoli. It tells you the wrong that you did, and you feel it, and so on. We are still on the topic of the truth.
Yes.
Do you think Uganda is ready for truth? Since you said Mao is a truth teller, do you think Uganda is really for truth?
To me, I wish this could come openly and everyone tell the truth, but it have never been openly to every Ugandans that every politician will always do things, especially in the light and truthfully to every citizen. Everyone will come.
I'm talking about the historical grievances of Uganda. When we take a look at the wars that they actually had with other tribes, the Baganda with the religious sect involving themselves in war and the rest, the Ankole the level of collaboration and the Museveni regime, the historical grievances, coming to a round table and to say, yes, we did this, please forgive us. You did this, you need to apologize. That's what Mao is talking about. Is Uganda ready for the truth?
To me, I think Uganda is ready for the truth, but now, from which background and who is going to tell what? Because now, looking at where we came from, I told you last time we are from post-war, and there's a lot that have stood out in the region. The only thing that stood for us is the Juba peace talk, that not all of them had been also accomplished. There are some few things which are still there. And when you stand up to make a lot of follow-up and do some other when you come up to make some follow-up, you are also looked at from which background are you coming from. Looking at the ruling party, they have done a lot of things. So I still believe that he will still whisper at the ear of those who want to hear, or they do not want to hear. But still, if someone do not want it, he will still remain silent.
So is Uganda ready? So is Uganda ready for truth?
I think so.
Now, lastly, very brief question: is everything scripted? In the race, Mao versus Anita, is everything scripted?
I don't think it is, but we still believe.
Let me first remind you the build-up. Mao, it started with rumors. Mao would be coming in for for president, and Chief Justice Windolo for vice president. That one came even before the period of election. Now we saw Mao stepping down abruptly from contesting as president. It was a shock. Mao came back, contested as a MP. Then it was like, now Mao, maybe he's fearing Museveni. Then again, boom, Mao confirming he's in the speakership race. That's why I brought the question: is everything scripted?
I think it's not really a shock to see that this has happened, but I believe that it's something which is which we might not know the background of this, but also I can tell you that there's a lot that has happened. The transition things that had been happening within the party system. You remember Mao kept on talking about transition, and so many things. I believe that there are things which are supposed to be accomplished before the time have come, and the time for making it is now. And I think it's not really on the black and white, maybe confirmation and so many other things like we talk about it. I have not confirmed it, but I've heard those rumors. But now the truth about this is, it has happened that we have seen some of them coming back for MP position.
Meaning it is scripted.
Yeah, I don't think I can.
If a rumor comes in series and it just unfolds the way we heard and we doubted. Like Mao said, he quoted some historical figure in Baganda, I think a powerful person, a powerful leader from Buganda sub-region, that the guy said, in Uganda, believe every rumors are true. So you heard it, you doubt it, it's happening. The only thing that would make us now say all these were lies is when Norbert Mao fails to make it as the speaker. So I think, to me, it is it looks like things are scripted, things are already decided somewhere.
It's really not a game.
And if you see how what Anita Mong is doing is panicking, because you can clearly see the style of public endorsements that people are making. It was not there before. At this early stage, people coming samples in various regions. It was not there before. And I think that's a sign of maybe Mong is aware of some secret somewhere, and she's now like Acholi says, she's trying to say, okay, let me do something to show that I'm loved across the country and I'm more influential than nobody know.
The truth about this is you can't compete with what I want to bring out is Norbert Mao have come up in the speakership race. One time I heard him speak and say, it's not because I was okay, I went somewhere and I was just silent. It is because I am there. Now the issue of Norbert Mao, the confirmation came, and he also said he said that you have heard it as rumors, but I have come openly to let you know that I am coming for the position. And he was very open, not now in rumors, because now you can't believe the truth, the truthful communication before the real person have come to clear the air. Now coming up to clear the air, meaning he really won the position. Now the truth about this is, at the end of it all, what will happen? It can be transcript, it can be on transcript, like they have put it ready on black and white, that we want you to do this, want you to be this, but how about if you fail? The real information about this become active when the day of election have come, and you never know how these people have started bidding for this, and maybe they have started also communicating to their fellows. I have seen on social media people who still want to come. You remember, it's also not an easy thing to be the speaker of the country and also running managing the parliament, but it has always been the topmost loved positions in the country that everyone cherishes so much that they really want to be part of it. So to me, I feel, even if it's on black and white, even if it's on something which had been planned or not, but at the end of it all, we want to see someone come up and take up the position. But I know all of them have got a lot of background which are good, some good information on their background, which can, like Norbert Mao is a minister of constitution. You know, this is talking about constitution. The most important thing is, do you or can you make do you know the constitution? Can you really do this work? So among also coming among also coming back from the background of little bit of law with degree, and also she's an accountant, she has been there, she has that experience and selling their ideas. So at the end of it all, we shall see who makes it up. Yeah,
it's okay. Thank you. Until next time.
Thank you so much.
We will be back.
Thank you.